All right. So our first question is how did you get involved in community sport and what motivated you to do so? And uh, the when you got into community sport, was the community engagement different? And was it different when you talk about 2021?
So is this my club tap wise, or is this just me getting into
No,
sport?
just for you from a Frankston Peninsula or a community sport kind of perspective.
So well, I'm just one of the players at Frankston. So basically, yeah, I just grew up playing cricket and then got into Frankston itself. And obviously, with it being at Premier Cricket, so it's obviously been around for quite a number of years. And Frankston's, I think, since '92 been in the comp. So it's kind of like more of a pathway for it leading up into the next level of sport. So leading into playing for Victoria and playing for Australia. So yeah, that's just kind of where Frankston sits on it all. It's a weird dynamic, the club. It's not really, it's community sport, but it's not. It's kind of like that. It's that bridge between the gap of playing professional cricket and playing in community cricket. So it's kind of, in the sense of community cricket, it's kind of it's an outlier Premier Cricket, I think.
Yeah, and just to get a sense, like when you joined in 1992, was the community involved in a different way as to what it is now? Because back then, of course, there was not a lot of internet, and the advent of internet wasn't there. So as far as the community involvement was concerned, have you noticed any kind of a difference with respect to the past and the present?
Look, I don't have much of an idea on that because obviously I'm not part of the administration at the club.
Yeah.
So I'm just one of the players that just started doing some of the social media stuff around it. From what I do know, look, they just joined because the local council and everything wanted to have a higher level of cricket in the area and joining into that Premier Cricket. So initially it was Frankston Cricket Club was a community cricket club. And then it kind of merged into Frankston Peninsula to then come into the Premier Cricket itself. So I can't really answer that question very well because, I don't know. I don't really know the club's dealings. I'm kind of the middleman between just getting things onto social media wise for the club.
All right.
Right. So then what features of MyClubtap did you find like the most helpful now as a player? What do you find most helpful? Yeah.
Just its ease of use really. So I was doing my own fantasy cricket comp using Excel spreadsheets and just made them up. So it was all pretty, we'll just work through there. And then it was just trying to decrease that time as I went into full-time work. So then I just found MyClubtap online, just like Googled around. So no one really told me about it. No one approached me. I actually approached Vicky, I think, about it and let the club, and I think he was going to approach us as it was. So that was part of his plans. But just the use, like from me on the admin side of it, it's really simple and easy. As the season goes on, it just reduces the amount of work that I was doing. And then as a user and as a player, like once you understand how the platform works, and I think some of the things Vicky's bringing in for this year coming are making it even easier. It's just a really easy way. I've had some pretty good feedback from the guys that were using it last year and that were playing. At how good the system was and how much they enjoyed it.
How did you promote the idea of fantasy game within the club, and what was your players' reception to it, like your teammates' reception?
So we'd had it for a couple of years before we did MyClubtap last year. I just asked if the club wanted it, and they said it was kind of as a fundraiser. I've put out quite a few things on social media. I think I've put together a few videos and things on there and some things to put it and promote it out that way. And then we've got our own, obviously our own private club chats and things and groups to be able to communicate in and just talk them through that. And it was just kind of word of mouth around. Initially, it was all done on paper. So I just gave everyone the players' names and they picked teams and gave them to me. So then it was just an easier transition onto MyClubtap because they already kind of knew about it. It was just more showing them how to use the platform and how to actually get online and use it in that sense. So everyone was really, I think obviously we're a very young club at Frankston. So we've got a lot of young players. And so everyone's kind of, plays the super coaches and plays like the Fantasy Premier League and plays all them anyway. So they understand the concept. So they're all really excited to kind of use it all and continue on using it.
So, like, would you say players will like to play fantasy games or their leagues? Like,
Well, so I know that there's the Fantasy Premier Cricket one that's coming out.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I can't answer that. I think a lot of it's around with the club one is that they got their mates and they're kind of picking between their mates. I think the league one would do well because, especially at Frankston, because they already know the concept, and it would be pretty cool to be able to pick guys from other leagues and be able to go through, and because they're a part of that comp. And I think that's the sticking point with these guys. I don't really get too many people using it from outside of the club that aren't involved either with, a brother playing or a close friend playing or a sibling playing. It's very mainly the guys that are actually involved in Premier Cricket or involved in Frankston Peninsula that use it, because I think the selling point for them is, they can pick themselves, they can pick their mate, and they can kind of have that banter. If they're one of their close mates is doing shit, they can kind of go, mate, come on, you got to pick your game up, you got to get me some points. So I think that's been the fun around with the Frankston one.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
And what kind of benefits a platform like MyClubtap have for Frankston Peninsula? I'm just talking in terms of there are 4 grades in every Premier Cricket Club, and sometimes it might be the case that the post players might be involved in ones, but the ones involved in the post, is that something that you see happening in the future if a club uses it within all 4 grades? Or I don't know whether Frankston does it already. But do you think that you mentioned fundraising as well? So are these some of the advantages that MyClubtap might offer?
Yeah, so fundraising is the big one. It wasn't that great last year, fundraising wise, purely because I just didn't get people paying. Because the way that I ran it before, you had to pay to be in, and I could remove teams that hadn't paid from it. So yeah, that was just I've told Vicky this has got nothing to do with the system or anything. It's just, I think because of a COVID year, everyone was a little bit disengaged with everything, and we had a lot of player turnarounds. So a lot of guys actually, like 1 or 2 rounds in, said to me, "Oh, I'd like to play that," and I was like, "Well, mate, I've been telling you for the last month and a half that it's happening. So at least bring it round." But we do use it in the 4 grades, so we use it throughout all grades that are playing and have the point scoring on there. And that's helped with the culture. It's kind of brought all the grades a little bit closer together, so people know, guys in the ones. I think in the past, in a lot of other clubs, they could be seen as a bit separated from the rest of the club at times, and it's kind of brought them in and them wanting to get to know the younger kids and how they play and get to work out how they can fit them into their team. So it's kind of really helped culture-wise with the club and bring everyone together, and also that financial wise, any money that we can get in as a Premier Club, we're not one of the rich ones. We're not your Melbournes, you're not your Melbourne unis. We're one of the ones that any funds, small funds we can get in helps. So we still made money last year. It wasn't as much as we have in the past, but if we make money from it, why not? It's a good platform for us.
Right. And talking about money coming in, what about sponsors? Because do you see an integration of sponsors and fantasy games happening in the future?
So I've been pushing the club to try and get club sponsors to sponsor it and to be able to put the branding and use a branding platform on it and have some sponsors in to be able to get some funds in that way. Obviously, again, COVID-wise, it became really, really hard because we didn't know whether the season last year was going ahead, and then we're in a pretty similar spot this year as well going into it. So and a lot of businesses are finding it hard at the moment to give money for sponsors because they're kind of trying to just keep themselves afloat and running. But it's definitely something that will easily fit in. And it's once you get that social media presence from it, and we're trying to build our social media presence as it is, and people can see the benefits of where they can actually get their brand out. I think it's, sponsorships for clubs would be a massive way for them to be able to use that branding platform to get it out there once, obviously, people understand it, to be able to help with that fundraising and help with that money coming in.
All right. And could you just name some of the best players from the fantasy games for last year? And I just want to know if players would appreciate if we do share their efforts on fantasy games. For example, if you are being picked 9 out of 10 times or 8 out of 10 times, would you personally like it if we share it on our social media? How would the players be receptive to it? We just want to get a sense of Just Frankston Peninsula's players, not anyone else. Just your club, not anyone else.
I think players were every time. I think Vicky would share every now and then like the best players and stuff. They liked it. They enjoyed it. I think, especially, I don't think anyone or most people wouldn't mind their name being on something and getting it out there, especially at the kind of the standard and the level that we're playing at.
Yeah.
I can't remember off the top of my head, so I'll just give me 1 sec and I should be able to get some player names for you who did well. I think the top one was Brodie Simons. I think he did really well with it. Then who else was on there? Give me 1 sec. I just got to plug this in. So yeah, all rounders generally do well in it. They're the ones that get most of the points. So Brodie was an all rounder. I think. Here we are. Last year. Okay. So the next one was Simon Draycott.
Okay.
Was the third one. Was the second one, sorry.
Yeah.
And then
Simon Jacob, right?
Draycott. So Draycott.
Okay.
Brodie Simons is Symons.
Yeah.
And then Jared Gibbs was the third one. So Gibbs.
All right. Yeah. All right. So we just wanted to know whether since you have played it for a while and you are very invested in fantasy sport, would you have any kind of suggestions which would improve our platform? And the one thing I'm sure you might have seen it, Vicky has started, is that you might have six members in the team, 7 members in a team, so it can be very flexible. So any other suggestions which you would have personally for the platform?
Well, me and Vicky have been chatting throughout since the last season, so a lot of my suggestions have been put in, which has been nice to see. I think just the only other extra thing from the things that are being released would just be around and I know Vicky's, I think, played with it before, the idea of an app, so usage of an app and making it really it's just got to be really dumbed down for the user. I think just more of just a couple of clicks, like just they go in, put their name in, and then their favorite comp comes straight up with their team. That was the only feedback, was that some guys, and it's nothing to do with the platform, and it's got nothing wrong with the platform. It's more just how people can work sometimes, is that they had to go through 3 or 4 clicks to work out their team name, or 3 or 4 clicks to work out where this is, and it kind of loses them. And it's just that, obviously, 3 or 4 clicks isn't much and it shouldn't lose a person, but it's just every now and then they can get a bit frustrated on it. I think that's just kind of the generations coming through. So yeah, if there was an app, just making it super, super simple, just really easy to use. And just like, if you're going to make a trade, you just do 1 click and then you see the teams come up. So just, minimal filtering in it. But I just think I love everything that's being brought in for this year. I think it's become even more user-friendly. I think, just the ideas around some of the branding and things that Vicky's done is looking really, really good. So there's not many more suggestions that I have really for how it's looking in the future.
What about the data entries? Do you think that's something that if we are doing it from our end, do you think that's there's a day that we should get it done by, say, for Sunday or Monday, because Tuesday there's evening training again for the Saturday game? Do you think it should happen before a certain time?
Yeah, I think that's all up to the different teams. So I ideally wanted it last year for Monday, but then because other things got in the way, I just put it out to Tuesday for me for every week, just to double check. Data entry is simple for me. I don't find it hard to use, I think, but some other clubs would. So if they're offering it for you guys to do it, that's perfect. But I think it should be just for the club. If you guys can, and obviously it's up to you guys to be able to do it. You have to do it. You guys are the ones that actually will have to find the time to be able to get it all done. So obviously you can't say, if the club says Saturday night, you wouldn't go, okay. Those kind of deals, like you just kind of, you'd work in constraints with that. I just think once it's able to be compatible with say, I know my cricket's no longer, I've forgotten the name of what the new things that are coming in, but once it's, once that new my cricket does come apart, and if it's compatible
it's
on that.
never, I think, NV Play. I think it's NV Play.
Okay, not sure what they're going to be using with it, but once that becomes a tick and being able to actually get the scores straight into the system, that'll be perfect, and that'll make it that extra bit better. But yeah, I just think if you guys are going to be putting in, do look after yourselves, because I know it can become once the platform starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger, it'll become a lot more work. So
all right. And any other thing that you would like to share about MyClubtap from your point of view that you want to talk about, or just any other incident where you think that the club, the social interactions within the club increased more because of the platform? Any such instance that you might recall of?
I think my only other big suggestion is having an ability to, I think Vicky has tried in the past of getting them to be able to, people to have to pay to play the game. So like having a system of that accountability of them, obviously it would be, some games would still be set up for free, but the ones that are set up for that fundraising and pay have a system and a thing at the front where they pay straight away. And then that's the only way they can make a team. That's just the only thing for me in the future that I'd love to see added in, because I like everything else. I don't think there's too much more to go in from there. The only thing social media wise I found, so I've done it a couple of times. I originally did, I'd put out like the top 20 teams. So the ladder each week of the top 20. And then last year, just because that took a bit of time, I just did the top players. So like the actual top performers for each week. I found there was actually more engagement from the top 20 teams. So people were actually wanting to see where their team sat more than how the actual players went in the team of the week from there. So that was my own little kind of findings from social media wise for that. So yeah, just if there's anything going out, I think for pure engagement of the clubs and people wanting to keep tracking their team, getting out the ladder and people being able to see where they are. But other than that, I think it's just more, just that payment system at the front of it, just more as a club fundraising hat on. It's just, that'll make just life so much easier and make people actually pay.
Yeah. Anything you want to ask, Catchup?
And do you find MyClubtap mobile friendly? Were you able to use the applications on all devices? Like, how do you find all of that?
So online, I find it's easy to use on a mobile. Obviously, you're still going through through the website and having to use like Google and stuff to find the thing, but it's very compatible. It's still it's very user friendly. It's just more for getting those last people in that are, for lack of a better word, the lazier people that just want to click on an app and get into it, I think, rather than having to search or bookmark, and more the kind of less tech friendly people, I think. So less people that are used to technology just to be able to jump on an app and get onto it. I think that's the way you kind of reach out to those extra people to get them in. But for me, the way that it was set up last year from Vicky on using the phone and going on from there was super easy. I didn't find any problems with it.
Right.
All right. So I think that should be it. We really appreciate your time, and thanks for doing this. Hope you're going to enjoy the grand final today, and good luck for the season. Looking forward to Frankston.
Yeah.